Welcome to another of my painting critique videos. In this video, I will be reviewing the paintings from my attendees of my June workshop where we painted this night scene. In this video, I'll be offering constructive feedback on each of your paintings, those that I've received, and my critiques are based on my own perspective. I'll be highlighting the aspects I admire most about each piece. I'll also suggest a small tweak or improvement just to help you refine your skills further. Also, bear in mind when we go through the attendees' paintings, these photos are taken by them, may not be exactly correct, the colours, the lighting, because everyone's got different cameras and different devices and lighting conditions. Now, you don't have to paint in my style. It's really interesting to see everyone's interpretation of the same scene. And my workshops are open to painters of all levels, beginners and advanced, all are welcome. If you want to take part in future workshops, you can see all my events on my event platform, which is crowdcast.io/@TimWilmot, the @ symbol, then TIMWILMOT. There you'll find this workshop, which you can still do, and all the previous ones, and the next one, which is due in mid-July. Let me describe the scene to you that we painted. This is Ouistreham in northern France, a typical nighttime street scene. And painting a night scene, particularly a street scene, in watercolor can be challenging for a number of reasons. First of all, we're working with more of a limited color palette. Night scenes typically have more limited colors, often dominated by shades of blues and purples and blackish colors. And working with such a restricted color range in watercolor can be a little bit tricky as the paints tend to blend, and it can be easy to go a bit too muddy, which is a common issue, or can be a common issue with watercolors. Next, capturing the ambient light. We've got 3 different light sources in this painting, lighting coming from all sorts of different directions. These street lights, could be moonlight there, but all this artificial lighting creating different intensities of light and also shining on different surfaces and being obstructed by different surfaces. We've got to try and observe the scene and try and plan our approach really with all of those different light sources. We also want to try and create depth and atmosphere, which can be difficult in a night scene with watercolor. Night scenes often have a sense of depth and atmospheric perspective, with objects appearing hazier or more muted in the distance. Way over there in the distance, we can hardly see what's going on there. And achieving that effect can require, well, it needs really good control of values and edges and color gradients just to try and get that feeling of depth in the scene. And then preserving the highlights and contrasts, these lights, trying to preserve those, trying to think what technique you're going to deploy, trying to get those lights and street lights and the light being cast across the surface and over different objects. And a primary technique is wet in wet, which I know a number of watercolor painters often struggle with. And this is what we'll be using quite a lot of in this painting, that use of wet in wet to try and get those soft edges. So I'm going to go through my demo painting first of all, and then I'll go through the attendee paintings one by one, spend a minute or 2 on each painting, and then do a little bit of a conclusion towards the end. Fairly happy with my version of the scene. As regards to composition, I zoomed in on the left-hand side. I excluded some of the objects on the right, got a good balance of the cars. I removed the railings that were in the foreground obstructing the car. Just didn't think that actually contributed anything to the composition. I included the litter bin on the left-hand side with the light hitting the top, contrasting that against the darker shop front behind. I've got the 3 light sources, 1, 2 by the bakers, then more of a distant street scene as well. Also the glow, the yellow glow of light hitting a fairly damp surface on the road. I include also a couple of figures. I just think it needed something there to give context to the air and an idea of scale as well. So a couple of figures, again, contrasting a dark against a light background. So quite happy with the scene. Let's go through the paintings one by one. First up then is Alex, and a different way of approaching the scene in a monochrome study, or fairly monochrome. Looks like there's a little bit of hint of blue in the distance there, but essentially a monochrome. I think that works well for a nighttime scene. Fantastic composition. Not so sure about that car on the right. Could it look a little bit better if it was just a wee bit more over to the left? But the cars are superb. Love all the soft edges. Perspective is very good indeed. Lovely light hitting the side building there. You've just reduced the light sources to one, simplify it that way. Fantastic sky as well, dark, gradually transferring to that lighter feeling. Yeah, thanks very much indeed, Alex. Fantastic painting. Right, Amy, let's just zoom in a little bit more on this one. Great colours, good composition. I think you've followed my approach to the composition. The perspective, let's look at the perspective. Perspective is good, actually, really good. Certainly with the buildings, the cars, it's got a feeling of depth as well. The lighting, perhaps the light on the top of that building there, perhaps we wouldn't see so much of that light line there, but that light source over there looks really good. It's certainly convincing as a main street light coming through to us, and then that corner light there with the throwing of some diagonal shadows across the bakery, and then that left-hand light there as well. Very good figures. Try with the figures, perhaps they could have just a tiny little bit of a soft shadow there. Maybe this curved line here could be perhaps a little bit straighter, connecting the two cars, the larger car there with the smaller white car on the right. But it's a lovely painting. Well done. Thanks very much, Amy. And Andrew. So Andrew's gone for a wider dimension composition. I like the inclusion of the parking sign there on the right, balances that out quite nicely. Good perspective. The perspective is very good. Perhaps just a little bit of the overuse of white paint in places here, Andrew. Just try and use that a little bit less, I reckon, because it can introduce a sort of overworking, and also depending on the consistency of the white paint, you get like a sort of milky sort of appearance to it, where it's gone a little bit too watery. Good figures. The light is very good up there on the right-hand side. Yeah, I think with the lighting, it might be better trying to leave the paper unpainted, I think, as much as you can, rather than using white paint or a heavy use of white paint or white gouache. Like the sky though, and the texture you've got into the sky. Great colours on those buildings. Perspective is very good. Yeah, well done. Thanks very much, Andrew. And Anna. Nicely framed with the mount. Good composition. The colours are fantastic. Good handling of wet in wet in the sky and the distance and the road surface here. The figures, perhaps the figures are a little bit sort of roundish in shape. Perhaps they could be a little bit slimmer, or looks like they've had a little bit too much to drink. Maybe they're wandering down the street at night. I love that darkness there. It's the street. There's actually a street that goes round to the left. This is the corner here, and the street goes round to the left. But that contrast between the light on the corner and the darkness over on the far side of the street works well. You're gradually going light towards the corner. Very nice indeed. Lovely sky. Lighting, perhaps that light there could be a little bit lighter, and maybe the light hitting the ground there. but a really good feeling of the light going across the road. Well done. That car there, I think the windscreen is a bit too big. This car's good. That car over the right, the windscreen looks a tiny bit too big. But well done, Anna. Thank you very much indeed. And Ardil. Good composition. Looks like you've fairly exactly sort of gone along with my composition. The perspective is very good. Perhaps that the angle of the street buildings here on the left-hand side, perhaps that the top of the first floor could go down just a little bit more, maybe just a tiny bit more. Good watercolor techniques. That light there is fantastic, the main light. I like the strong diagonals here, the darkness in the corner of on the far side of the buildings, the light hitting this corner here. That's a lovely light coming down from this light on the left going down the buildings and then hitting the top of that car. Cars are really good indeed. Very good figures. Let's zoom on the figures. Yeah, well done, Ardil. Fantastic painting. Thanks very much. And Barb. Zoom in a little bit more on this one. Very good composition. Those figures really stand out. You've made that light there in the middle more of a sort of the dominant light out of the three. I think it works really well. Those figures are brilliant. Very nice indeed. Excellent cars. Perspective is very, very good. I like the texture on the building on the left-hand side. That's come out really well. Maybe you could have gone a little bit darker in places like the distant buildings just on that corner. Placement of that bin, perhaps that could be just a little bit further up into the scene, maybe a little bit more to the right. It's a lovely bin, but it's just kind of almost lost there on the left-hand side. Very nice brush marks. I think the building here on the right-hand side might be a little bit too low with those lower windows. Perhaps the street level could be more kind of there a little bit. But a lovely scene. I do like those figures, the way they stand out. Excellent. Thanks very much, Barb. And Betty. Very soft look. The lights on the right-hand side are fantastic. That kind of oval shape. Looks like you've done a little bit of body paint for that to get that soft edge. That works really well. There's a number of different techniques to try and get that soft edge around street lights, either with wet and wet or a little bit of lifting out maybe, or indeed a little bit of body paint, and that works really well. Yeah, that one there, and then the light behind the buildings and over on the right-hand side. You've gone for that slightly wider format. You've got all of the different elements in there. Lovely car there. Not so sure about if this is a pedestrian crossing. Don't think that works too well, but it's. I think you've got away with it. In that you're not making it too strong a contrast between the lights and the darks. Perspective is very good. Well done with the three figures. Those cars are fantastic. Very good cars indeed. Thanks very much, Betty. And Bob. Lovely darkness in this one. I like this a lot. This is beautiful. You've got all the colours in. You've gone a lot darker than me. I like also a good idea, the overlapping shapes of the cars on the right-hand side. So you've got in a couple of cars there, maybe a minibus and a truck there over on the right-hand side. Very nice indeed. Lovely overlaying of different transparent washes. The colours that you've got into that road surface are fantastic. The light, the main street light up there on the top right corner, very nice indeed. That street light above the bakers there, lighting up those two figures. The cars are fantastic. That light coming down there. Perhaps this one, perhaps the bin could have a little bit more light on it. Maybe, Bob, just a tiny bit more light. That's a super painting. Fantastic. And the way that you've patiently done all the shop fronts as well, the signage above the shops and the intricate sort of detail of the windows and the doors going along the street there. Good job on the perspective. But those cars are fantastic. Yeah, particularly there. That'd be a nice composition all on its own over there on the right. Well done, Bob. Thank you. And Bronwyn. Well, a bit of a contrast. This is a lighter night scene, which works equally well. I think I went quite light on mine, and Bronwyn has as well. Perhaps it could be, Bronwyn, just a little bit darker in this top left-hand corner here, where we are a little bit further away from the light. But good composition. Perspective is brilliant. The cars turned out really well. The figures also. Nice handling of the sky and the light sources. Good soft edge around that light there. That really stands out. Perhaps with some of these lights, they would stand out a bit more if we went darker with the surroundings. So above that light, for example, and then in that corner there on the far side of the street. But it's a lovely painting. Lovely cars. Good figures as well. Well done, Bronwyn. Thank you. And Buck. Back to a darker one. I think as we go through this, we might be alternating between light ones and dark ones. And they're both equally options as regards approaching this nighttime scene. This is a really nice, I love that light there. The way that you've got these circles of light around it is almost as if we're squinting our eyes looking at it. We've got these rays coming out from the middle and then those subtle rings. That's very expertly done there. Beautiful. Good job on the perspective. The cars are fantastic. Everyone's done. The cars, they're brilliant. The perspective is brilliant. The watercolor technique is fantastic. That sky is really good. You've got that sort of very dark violet blue there in the sky. Works really well. Darker rooftops. Good figures coming down the street. Lots of soft edges. Nice bit of detail on the shops on the left-hand side there. Yeah, nice one, Buck. Thanks very much indeed. Ching. Very nice indeed. Those buildings are expertly drawn and painted. Lovely perspective. I like the way that you've got a little bit on the right-hand side there. You've got a little bit of a sort of another square appearing there. Nice sense of the buildings in the distance. Yeah, good job with the architecture and the buildings. The cars are very good. Perhaps in places just a little bit too much of the white paint around some of the trim of the car and the details on the window, the shop fronts of the shops on the left-hand side. Don't think it needs as much as that. Those figures are brilliant though. The cars are fantastic. Very nice light coming down that side of that building. Yeah, I like the explosion of a lighter yellow around that light source. Almost like a firework in a way. Brilliant. Yeah, but I do like the way that you've done your buildings. The buildings are outstanding. And that car there as well. Very good. Very good cars. As has everyone else so far. Well done, Ching. Chris, let's just zoom in this one a little bit. Beautiful watercolor, nice perspective. I like all the granulation. Let me just zoom in on that windscreen there, the car body, the road surface. Look at the way that Chris has connected those figures to the shadow. Brilliant, lovely watercolor. You're just exploiting what watercolor does. This is very good wet in wet. Good job with the perspective, the composition, the lighting as well. Maybe a bit of an issue with the edge around the yellow part of the light. Perhaps if the sky was a little bit darker, Chris, it wouldn't be so evident, that kind of border around that light. But some minor points, a fantastic painting. I do like this middle area here and that wet and wet down the corner. Look at this. Really nice. And that edge, that hard edge there, exactly as you would do. You've got that harder edge nearer the light source. And then, of course, as we go a little bit further away, it's soft around that little corner there. Thank you, Chris. And Christy. I know Christy's very good with her cars. Those cars are brilliant. And you've got that one on the right-hand side. I think you get away with it, that one on the right-hand side. It's not so much in your face. I like the way that I think without white paint, you've actually got a lot of shine on the surface of those cars, on the body of those cars. That's turned out really well. I like also the lighting coming from the windows in the distance. Nice sense of atmosphere and the distance there of those buildings. The light sources are very good. Perhaps that middle light there, we could have a few more sort of diagonal shadows just to try to emphasize the direction of the light. Could be a little bit lighter there maybe, or light coming across the road. But I love all that light, this light here, and that strong light, almost like there's another light. Well, there was another light that we can't see over on the left that's shining. That's shining on the litter bin on the left-hand side. Yeah, very nice. But I do like that right-hand side, the way that you've done the buildings. Done a bit of negative painting around the cars, and then those different windows with the lights coming through. And you've got also the French baker signage up there as well. Well done. Thanks very much, Christy and Colin. I'll just turn this around a little bit. There we go. Colin, yeah, really nice. A nice very bold watercolor. Those lights really stand out. The edges that you've got there. I quite like this one on the left-hand side, where we've got a hard edge on the left-hand side, then a soft edge on the right. That works really well. Nice cars, simply done, not overworked. Not so sure about that light there with the white of the light, and like a little bit of a darker line around the actual light, the lamp itself. But the other lights are really good. Is this white paint here? Doesn't really show. If that is white paint, Colin, I think you've got away with it. In that you've got the right ratio of water to paint there. Nice sky as well. Buildings perhaps there could be just a little bit more detail on those buildings, or a sense of the perspective there. Perhaps that top could be just a little bit steeper. That's excellent watercolor. Really nice indeed. Yeah, that granulation. Beautiful. Thanks very much, Colin. Oh, have I missed someone out? No. After Colin is Dave. Another dark one, works really well. You've actually got in a lot of those buildings on the right-hand side. Like Christie's, I really do like the way that you've done your buildings on that right-hand side. The feeling of, well, like Ching's, the feeling of that, like a little square over there on that right-hand side. Perspective is very good. The watercolor color techniques are also excellent. I like the warmth of the pavement on the left-hand side and the coolness of the road surface. The cars are very good indeed. Two good figures connecting with the shadows. The boulangerie sign there, yeah, very nice indeed. Yeah, these two light sources really good. Not so sure about the one in the distance. I wasn't 100% happy with mine with the yellow. I think it would have worked a little bit better being a little bit more wet in wet. Like the soft edge around those buildings there in the distance. That whole area there is brilliant, Dave. Excellent cars. Yeah, lovely watercolour. Thanks very much, Dave. And Eileen, let's just zoom into this one a bit more. Here we go. Right, a nice composition, balance of the cars. So big one on the left, next biggest one on the right, and then a slightly smaller one. That's a nice balance of cars there. The perspective it's all right. Perhaps there could be a little bit of a steeper line up on the top of that first floor island, and then steeper again on the rooftop, but the rest of it looks good. I like the way that's almost like a moon there in the sky. It doesn't necessarily need to be a street light. Could be the moon showing through the night sky. The watercolor techniques are very good. With the cars, I would say you've got a little bit of a light edge around them, because the cars are going to be darker anyway than their backgrounds. I would just go over. I wouldn't worry too much about painting around like the figures there. Just ever so slightly painting around those figures. You don't need to do that. Just go right over the figures, as long as you can still see your pencil lines, of course. But go right over that, so you don't. You get a better connection as well. They just stand out just a tiny bit too much. Love that road surface. That is brilliant. Yeah, that sort of light green there, a cooler blue, shadows. Very nice indeed. Thanks, Eileen. And Elizabeth. Very soft. Now, Ouistreham being on the northern coast, on the Normandy coast of France, you might often get some sea mist coming in. So this would be very appropriate for this location. I like it. Lots of soft edges. It's got a lot of warmth, this one. That sky is fantastic. You don't have the bright lights of the street lights, the lamps there on the side of the buildings and that street lamp, but it works really well. A nice warm glow. Certainly you've captured the feeling of a nighttime scene. We could have gone a little bit dark, I reckon, in that area there. Cars are very well done. Figures are excellent. Yeah, it's got a nice warm glow and a nice range of colours as well. The orangey reds down there, cooler blues on the road surface, the yellows. Nice sky as well. A little bit, perhaps a little bit of an issue with that area there, but on the whole, the skies turned out really well. Well done, Elizabeth. Thank you. And Fauzia. Yeah, composition is very good. Perspective is excellent. I love the colours of the buildings. This dry brush mark there, very distinctive style. I know, Fauzia, you like you're working at your painting, and there's lots of brush marks in there, lots of detail. It's a very distinctive style, very attractive. You've got all the colours in there. The cars turned out really well. Perhaps this one here a little bit too soft on the edge. That car looks good. This car on the left-hand side looks good. Maybe some of the road could be just defined a little bit more there on the left-hand side with the side of the pavement, just like a sort of, almost like an S-type shape. That might turn out quite well there, but a lovely light that's coming onto the pavement, the light on the bakers in the background. So you use a bit of white paint there. It's gone a little bit sort of overworked, just slightly overworked there of that one, and that one. So I would say, Fauzia, try and do the negative painting technique. So try and leave the paper unpainted if you can, to get the light sources and the light going across the different surfaces. But lovely range of colours, well done. Thanks, Fauzia. And Fiona. It's a very bold watercolour, nice composition, got a good balance to it in that we've got the car there, then the distant car and the figures right between the two. Perspective is very good. It was quite tricky on the left-hand side. There's a bit of a gradient going uphill, and the tops of the shops, they weren't completely level, but yours turned out really well. Good light sources, perhaps that one there, we've lost the kind of central bright light. But you could argue that light is a little bit further away and you want to try and sort of push it back further. The buildings are excellent. The cars are excellent as well. Maybe with this car here, that light there could be a little bit more to the left and just a little bit, tiny bit smaller, just to match it up with the one on the right. But those figures are fantastic. Zoom in. They are very good. The way also, Fiona, that you've gone a little bit lighter on the legs, the bottom of the legs, and then you've got a bit of a subtle shadow going in there as well, connecting them to the ground. Those are two excellent figures. Thanks, Fiona. Gordon, let's just turn this one around. There we go. Oh, I like it. It's a nice style. As I say, I do look forward to seeing everyone's different style and take on the scene. So we've got a figure here that wasn't in the source photo. Well done on that. And the figure is well placed with the head. Now the head is, the top of the head is right in line with the bottom of the buildings in the back. Maybe that figure could be, if it was just a little bit higher, I reckon that would make it even better. But that's a fantastic figure, perfectly placed as regards that line there, walking into the scene and just carrying a bag as well, different clothing. Yeah, works really well. I like these brush marks as well, coming down the street, just really emphasizing the feeling of the gradient there. The light sources are brilliant. The night sky, very good indeed. I like the way that you've got those buildings on the left. Could be perhaps a little bit darker in that top left corner. That's an excellent scene, and well done for including the figure. Yes, you haven't bothered with the litter bin on that left-hand side, but the figure would more than compensates for that. Yeah, really good figure. Thanks very much, Gordon, and good job with the buildings as well. Right, Iris. Okay, Iris has gone for, as you can see, a horizontal format and a vertical format, and that works really well. It often works very well in street scenes where you just want to concentrate on maybe one side of the street or, of course, a very narrow street. So here, Iris is concentrating on the left-hand side, but we've got everything in. Not so sure about the placement of the cars, though, in that our main car there is in the bottom left-hand corner, and then we've got the car on the right. I think it might be just pointing down a little bit too much, making it look like the viewer is perhaps just a little bit too high. But those colours on this scene are absolutely brilliant. It's almost like, to me, it reminds me of a pastel painting or sketch. Those colours are really nice. Yeah, the way that you've done the buildings, brilliant. The light hitting those top windows there. Just a minimal sky. It's just a little thin slither across the top there. It just goes to show you don't have to have a lot of sky, or maybe no sky at all, just to really paint a nighttime scene. I like also the way that you've got that light there. That's a perfectly placed light. And then we've got these very soft shadows, the edge of the shadows going down there like that. Excellent. Figure in the distance, highlighted against something light behind it. You've got the little sort of posts on the side of the pavement as well. Oh, it's a super painting. Fantastic colours, lovely soft edges, and well done for taking that brave step of going vertical format. I think it really works with less of the sky and more of that foreground and the surface to deal with. Yeah, well done, Iris. Jean, just see if I can zoom in a bit. as I say, everyone's got different resolutions of photos that they send to me. So this one might be just a little bit low, but we'll zoom in there. Might lose a bit of the definition a tiny bit. There we go. Nice job on the composition. Beautiful colours, lovely edges, those hard edges, the jagged edge around here. That's quite nice in that it's coming from the left-hand corner, connecting with the bin. The bin is connecting the shops and that green shadow, and then the lighter band connects with the car and maybe just continues on into the distance as well. Really nice. You've got that tree on that right-hand side also. That works equally well. A bit of light coming from, I think it was a church. There's a main church over on the right-hand side. It's a bit of it's almost like the town centre in Ouistreham. And good job on the perspective as well. That's an excellent watercolour. Lovely cars. With the figures, I think I can just about make out the left-hand figure. The left-hand figure looks a little bit better than the right. I think the legs on the right one are maybe a bit too wide or large, I think. But two very good figures. Well done, Jean. Thank you. And sorry, should have said that's Jean F. And this Jean number 1 and Jean number 2. Let's just zoom into Jean number 2. There we go. Excellent composition. The perspective is very good. Well done with the light sources. Maybe we could have just a little bit more of something going over here on the right hand side, but strong sense of the light coming across the street with that dark shadow caused by that car. The cars are really well drawn, painted. Maybe just a little bit more darkness on that right hand side if we've got the light coming from above there or from the left hand side. And figures are excellent. Perhaps the one on the right maybe a bit too slim, but the one on the left, fantastic. Very nice colours. Perhaps we could have got a bit of a softer edge on that shadow coming across the building. It's a really nice sort of warm glow you got with the building, but maybe that edge there, Jean, could have been just a little bit softer. All right. Very nice indeed. I like the dry brush marks in the foreground as well. Thank you, Jean. Joe's gone with an older style car. Look at that car, it's beautiful. I really like it. It's a nice composition. We've got quite a lot of middle values here. We don't have a lot of darks. I think you'd have a bit more, or consider getting a bit more impact if you get into some darker values, and also have them against the lighter areas, like this car on the right-hand side. I like that car as well. Certainly they both have got a French look about them, a sort of vintage French car. But that darkness there against the light, that's got a lot of impact. That really stands out. That's lovely. Maybe we could have done something over here on this left-hand car. Although you've got the darkness of that rooftop against a slightly lighter background. Nice figures, look quite atmospheric and not too much detail on them. I think with maybe as a time of day, perhaps this is more sort of dusk rather than late at night. I would say with the colour of that sky, but a nice soft painting, and that car there is really, really good. Thanks very much, Joe. And well done for including the car park sign as well. Right, Kazim. Let's zoom in on this one. Very nice composition. I think you've gone along with me on the composition. Perspective is brilliant. The detail on those shops on the left-hand side, love it. Really, really good. Litter bin standing out. Those cars are fantastic. That Honda there. Nice curve of the street. The warmth on that side and then the coolness of the road. Very good figures. Perhaps the top of the building there could be just a little bit straighter, got a tiny bit of a sort of bit of a waviation. I think if that was a stronger line there, that will work a bit better. Yeah, very nice indeed. Well done, Kazim. Before we go on to the next attendees painting, just to mention about the next workshop in mid-July, I'm going to be painting this scene of Constantine Bay in Cornwall, UK, and quite a nice scene of a cliff-top cottage there, brightly standing out against the background. Lots of different range of values. They've got the shapes of the radiating shapes of the lane coming down the left-hand side, then a retaining wall, then the rock formations and rock pools going out towards the sea. Lots of greens, lots of blues, lots of dark shadows as well, lots of impact with the range of values, maybe some figures coming down the left-hand side. Yeah, I hope you can join me. Details, I say, on my event website. Just go to crowdcast.io/@ Tim Wilmot, or if you go to my website as well, my main website, you'll see a link there to more details about the workshop and the registration. Look forward to seeing you on this workshop. Leonora, what lovely watercolour. You've made several changes here. Let me see if I can spot them. First of all, the figure walking across the street and the sort of silhouette of the front of that figure. That's a superb figure. Figures are always difficult to do when they're walking from side to side. You've got that kind of side view and trying to get the sense of movement, and particularly the legs, trying to get the legs right so it doesn't look like they're too like an upside down V in a way. But those recs and a bit of bend in the knees and walking forwards and just the right size compared to the other objects around. You've made this into a taxi, so there might be a bit of a story going on here. It's late at night. This figure's going over to get a ride in the taxi. Like that light there across the front of the car. That's very good indeed. Not so sure about the railings here, this protected barrier. I still don't think that brings anything to the composition. The perspective is very good. I like the way you've done the background buildings. Not so sure about the light source here, in that maybe it could be a little bit brighter where the lamp is there, Leonora, and you've got a bit of a hard edge around the transition from the yellow to the dark sky. Like that blue on the right-hand side, this whole right-hand side here, connecting those shapes, the couple of cars there, shadow, figure connected, car connected with the shops on the left-hand side. Nice transparent layers of colours as well. Yellow, greens, blues, pinks, yellow. Very nice indeed. That figure is superb. Well done, Leonora. And I think Leonora's new. There's quite a few new attendees that I haven't had before. So welcome those of you that are new to the workshops. Right, Leslie. Nice composition. I think we've got a bit of a slope here. Not sure if that's the angle of your photo when you took it. But yeah, just a little bit of an angle, but we can see what's going on. The composition is really good. You've got a lot going on the right-hand side there. I like the square sign lit up. That middle light works really well, as does the light on the left-hand side. Perspective is very good. Nice three figures there. The car on the left is also very good. Three figures. Perhaps the road surface is just a little bit too dark, or maybe as you've got quite a lot of the road showing here, and with the road sort of sloping down to the right hand side, perhaps this bottom right corner could be just a little bit darker, and then a kind of soft transition into that lighter area there that might work a bit better. But it's yes, a lovely scene. Certainly, you've got the feeling of the dark light and the bright street light shining up the street. Fantastic. Yeah, well done, Leslie. Lillian. Oh, very nice. I like it. The balance of the figures, the two on the right-hand side there, the two in the middle, the soft edges, those warms, that strong. This strong horizontal works, or rather there's a bit of a sort of like an L shape happening here. We've got that lit up area on the street. We're hitting the car, very nice soft edge on the top left corner of that car. And then this strong, straight line there. Car connected to it, a little bit of light underneath the car. Right-hand side of the car. The light gets duller, not so intense over the right. And then just a sort of these figures there on the right. That is superb. Perhaps that light over there could be just a little bit lighter. And are those buildings on the left-hand side? I actually quite like that, with the way that you've left a little bit of the facade of the front of the building there. There's a little bit of light. Really, really nice indeed. Yeah, excellent painting, Lillian. Well done. And look how dark that road is. And the dark of the sky. So we've got dark, light, dark. Brilliant. Yep, thanks, Lillian. Linda. Now Linda's taken the photo at a slight angle, but we can see what's going on here. Nicely mounted. And what a fantastic sports car there. I think from a perspective point of view, it looks like we're looking down on the scene a bit, which is all right as long as everything else is sort of aligned with that. So from a perspective point of view, the buildings look good, but it sort of almost like the viewer is in a first floor window or on the top of a step ladder looking down at the scene, if you like. I think it's with the figures as well. If that really lovely red car was just up here, perhaps, and we're not seeing the top of it so much, so we've got just the front of it, and we can see the windows going. We're not like sort of looking down into it. That would work a little bit better. Right. What else have we got going on here? So the rest of the perspective says good, lovely colours. The other cars, perhaps make them a little bit wider. Figures are very good. Lovely colours in the street. With these edges, perhaps they could be just a little bit softer. Yeah, I would say, Linda, try and get them a little bit softer. All right, so you've got that soft transition from the darker area into the lighter, and then out to the dark area again. These lights, they've turned out really well. Left-hand one, middle one. I think the right-hand one, I think it's, maybe too much use of that opaque-ish yellow colour there. I think with those marks that you've got, these kind of lines emanating from the lamp. Yeah, so just ease off a little bit on the white paint there. But fantastic scene, lovely colours, good job with the figures, and that really nice little red sports car there. Fantastic. Right, Lynn. Very soft. This is like Lillian's, a lovely soft image. You've actually got 4 light sources. Well done. We've got the left-hand one, the bakers, then the street light, and then this one on the right-hand side. That's turned out really well. Another street light there on the right. Probably making life a little bit more difficult for yourself because you've got those 4 different light sources to contend with, and just thinking about when they're hitting the road surface and they're traversing along the surface, and they're hitting different objects, what kind of shadows are gonna happen. But everything's turned out really well. Perhaps the sky's just a little bit too grey. I think it'll work better with some colour in there. Maybe a blue, mix in an ultramarine blue, something like that, just to give it a bit of colour so we're not so grey. Everything else is fantastic though. The perspective is very good. The cars are brilliant. Those figures. Look at the angle of those figures. the angle of the heads, almost as if they're talking to each other as they're coming down the street. Good sense of movement with those figures. We can hardly see, as you would do at night time, you can hardly see where their feet are, particularly if they're moving. Very nice indeed. I do like your lights though, particularly that right-hand one. That's come out really well. That's sort of, the paper is not painted, and then you've got that kind of yellow and a pink around it, and then we're then transferring into that darker sky. Good job with the buildings, lights on the windows. Yeah, well done, Lynn. Thank you. And Mark. Right. Good composition. You've got 5 figures in this. I like that line going across the scene. Very dramatic, and it's connecting. Well, it's starting from the car, connecting those figures, and then connect to that right-hand car. Just ease off on the white paint, I would say, Mark, on the different areas like the windscreen here. I think the headlights here just a little bit too bright, and that kind of dry brush mark there, that's a bit of body paint there. And with the figures, yes, use a little bit of highlighting, but not all the way around them. So just again, think about the, maybe some parts of the outline, the outer edge of the figures wouldn't be highlighted, as in what I'm trying to say. Maybe the legs less so. That's that sort of stripe on the right-hand side there. The car drawings turned out really well. They all did really well. From a perspective point of view, buildings look good. Though these 2 figures down here, yes, we've got that slope going up the road, but I think they could do with being just a little bit higher, I reckon, Mark. Maybe up here somewhere, so the head, if you like, there. Right, obviously trying to make them a bit bigger. Excuse my crude drawing, but I think that would work a little bit better up there. But well done with the sky. Nothing is really overworked apart from just that overuse of the white paint there on that left-hand side and some of these light sources. So try and leave out, as I've said before in other attendees, just try and leave out a little bit of the paper a bit more than you're doing. Thanks so much, Mark. Right, next one is Mike. Nice colourful scene, lots of light. The left 2 lights, the left-hand light and the centre light worked out really well. This one in the top right corner, perhaps it's the transition of the yellow to the darkness. It looks nice from a watercolour point of view, but it's just a bit too strong, and that hard edge, just that hard edge there on this side, or on the bottom bit of it. If that was, maybe you could get out a little small synthetic brush, damp brush, and just tease that edge a little bit, make it a bit softer. Love the light on the right-hand side. These cars are brilliant. Nice light hitting the road, connecting those figures. The figures are good as well. Yeah, and the other thing you find with figures at night in a street scene is with multiple light sources, their shadows are going to go all over the place. So quite right, we've got a shadow going over to the right, car shadow going over to the right, and then one coming down towards us. Perfect. Yeah, very good indeed. Perhaps the top left corner there could be a bit darker, Mike. Just an idea, so it's not so lit up. Fantastic. Yeah, thanks very much, Mike. Nino. A lively scene. Nino is a similar way to Fausia, your brush marks, lots of smaller brush marks, I would say. It's very lively. I like it. I like the cars. The cars are really well done. Perhaps perhaps that car there on the right is just a little bit too high and maybe a little bit too large compared to the size of the figures, or maybe those figures could be a bit larger. I do like the buildings. I love the way that you've done that background building there. That light source turned out well, as indeed did the left-hand one. Just ease off on the white paint just a bit too much, these little dots and dry brush marks. Oh, there's a figure. I think there's a figure coming over from the left-hand side, walking left to right. If that is a figure, Nino, just consider bringing it a bit more into the composition. I would say it's just too much over there on the left-hand side. Very nice brush marks on the road. I do like the way that you've done your road surface. That's come out really well. Yeah, thanks, Nino. Nydia. Nydia, nice composition. Well done with the perspective. Cars look really good. Figures, nice movement with the figures. Almost looks like they're running downhill towards us. Yeah, those cars, I like that bit of light underneath that car there, which I suppose you would do, the light bouncing off the surface, then maybe hitting the back of the car or underneath the chassis there. Nice lights, good dark sky. With the building on the left, perhaps there could be just a little bit more detail to that building. Looks a little bit kind of a little bit too simple. Maybe need a little bit more detail on some of the windows there. But lovely light there above the car. Nice bold litter bin. Perhaps that bin could be just a little bit more into the right. Very nice indeed. I like it. Nice bold clean watercolor. Nothing overworked. Nice dry brush marks down the left. And a little bit on the street there. Excellent. Pat. Zoom in a bit more on Pat's. There we go. Good composition. Very nice cars. Especially that car there. The perspective of the buildings is brilliant. The figures look a little bit too kind of static. I think maybe their legs might be just a little bit too wide. Yeah, so consider, to zoom in a bit more, maybe consider just slimmer legs on those figures and try and get a sense of movement in them. The lights are really good. Just ease off on that white paint around there on that left-hand one. This middle one is sort of all right. Yeah, you've got a nice bit of brightness coming through there. But yeah, just the white paint is a little bit too much water on it. You've got that kind of milky consistency with it. I like that light there. Very bright. The road surface is brilliant. You've done really well with that road surface. Yeah, excellent car, as I said. Nice litter bin. Well done with the perspective. And a nice sky, nice texture to that sky. Well done, Pat. Ravian. Yeah, I like it. I like the, on the right-hand side, that building there, and these little, just attention to detail, those little, a row of bollards there on the street, but the light hitting that building, just as you would do, a bit of a shade there, light coming from that light source going on that. Yeah, lovely. The light sources are good, so nice composition. The car here on the left, not so sure about these wheel rims here. Perhaps they're just a little bit too close together, or it looks, yeah, it looks like we're looking at the side of the car, but yeah, we're not. But apart from that, that car is brilliant. Nice bin, good figures, nice wet and wet. The road surface, nice smooth surface of the road. I like the detail of the little bit of stonework that's just dressing, just decorating the side of the road there, just as you would do in that part of France, the kind of blocks at the end of the pavement. Yeah, good job with the perspective. That background building is brilliant. That building on the left there, fantastic, and that one on the right, Very nice indeed. Well done, Ravi. Roger. That's a nice bold start. I like the sleek lines of that car. Yeah, very nice. Good composition. The figures. There's a lot of atmosphere in this one. A lot of sense of the atmosphere with those figures there. Nice light. With the windows, I'm not sure if the windows need something on the base of the bottom of the windows. They kind of start off with a hard edge, and then you've got a bit of a soft edge there. Perhaps it could be just a little bit more detail, and also the road just a little bit darker, I reckon, Roger, down in this bottom right-hand corner. But I like the bold style of it, clean lines, nothing overworked. The background buildings there, a bit of light coming through from some of those windows. Good light sources there. Very little use of white paint, if at all. Nice one, Roger. Thank you. And Rosemary. Let's just zoom in a little bit on this one. Yeah, very nice composition. The figures, I'm not sure if those figures are just... No, they are the right size. They're kind of towards the back of the street, aren't they? I was just thinking other figures are a little bit too small. No, I think they're the right size. I do like the light source, particularly that one there, top right corner. That's just the right sort of intensity. You've got the light in the middle, and then that sort of yellow border around it, and then the soft transition into the sky. Sky is fantastic. Good job with the perspective. I think the top of the first floor could come down just a little bit more. Then you've got the top there. That looks right. Yeah, just that sort of middle line there. Cars are brilliant. Perhaps the headlights could be a little bit larger on this car here. But it's a nice, clean, bold watercolour. Great road surface, wet in wet. The figures look good. Excellent. Well done, Rosemary. Thank you. Sandra, nice composition. You've achieved a lot of light in the road there. Good job with the perspective. The cars are very well drawn and painted. Perhaps there could be a little bit of a bit more darker light in this bottom right-hand corner. I like the light on the right-hand side. It's quite empty there. Maybe just have some extra objects, bollards or something there on that right-hand side. Very good figures though. Lovely figures. The perspective is very good. Nice bit of darkness in that top left-hand corner, and the texture in that sky. You've got the feeling of some high clouds or something like that in that sky. It's a nice texture and just the right colour. Good light sources as well. The street light, the corner light, the shop light here. Nice and light at that bottom left-hand corner. Excellent. Well done, Sandra. And Suzanne. Very nice sky. That is a lovely sky. Again, just what watercolour does, that sort of granulation and these mixing, the blendings that go on that wet in wet. A lot of atmosphere going on that top right corner. I like the cars, not so much this car, not sure. It's that the top roof and then that right-hand side just looks a little bit too, maybe a little bit too light, too curved. Good figures. The perspective is all right. Not so sure about the building on the left. It's a little bit overworked, but I think it needs some stronger lines with, well, the perspective. So street level's all right, and then we've got the top of street level. Maybe it's that first floor, just needs to go down a bit more. Figures are brilliant. I don't think they need that little bit of white paint on them. I would keep them just kind of fairly solid dark shapes. Good movement with those figures though. Consider a bit more of a softer edge on some of these shadows. And you're quite light down here in the bottom right corner. That sky is really good, and that light there. Excellent. Thank you, Suzanne. And Sylvia. A nice soft watercolor, lots of nice colors that are crept in. The light sources are brilliant. The balance of it, the perspective is very good. The cars are excellent. That car on the right hand side, I just think needs to be I'm always 50-50 whether cars right on the edge of a street scene composition work well. I think that one would be better off further on to the left. They're really nice cars though, the way you've done them. With the perspective on the left hand side, not so sure that's strictly speaking correct. I think maybe it's the street level. You've got looks like it's going uphill too much, then it sort of evens off along the side of the roof. So that's the back there. Excuse me, that's the back there. Let's get rid of those lines. So maybe street level needs to be more like that kind of angle. And then you've got your bottom of the first floor, top of the first floor. That would be a little bit better. The light sources are very good. And I like the way the figures are. They're quite soft. They're quite light in value. Again, looks like they're like a few other people's paintings. Looks like they're running. A great sense of movement with those two figures. They are really good. Brilliant. Excellent cars, as I said. Nice road surface. Lots of colours that you've got in there. Well done, Sylvia. And Vicente. I think Vicente is the last one. Yeah, very nice composition. Lots of nice colours. Very loose the way you've done it. Not so sure about the perspective on the left-hand side. I think everything else looks good. I like that strong band of lightness there in the middle, connecting the left-hand car with the right-hand car. Two very good figures there. The sky is good. Not so sure what that element is there, but the sky is very good. Perhaps with the perspective on the left-hand side, to make it more building-like, it's a tiny bit overworked there, with a bit too much of the white gouache there, I reckon, Vicente. So just ease off on that and try and get in some stronger lines. You've got the on the street level, but we just need to get a bit more of a stronger line with the tops of the shot fronts, and then that top of the first floor. But it's a lovely painting. Yeah, so thanks very much, all of you that both attended and also submitted your painting for your critiques. Thanks again also to some of the newer people that have joined us. I hope to see you on many more future workshops that I run normally every month. Hope to see you on the next workshop. The site again is at crowdcast.io /at Tim Wilmot. I get it right. Hope to see you on the next one. And just a little recap on painting night scenes with watercolor. Observe the scene. Try and think about the palette of colors you're using. The skies aren't grey. Inject some color into the skies. Think about the light sources and the path of light as well. Also, what technique are you going to use for street lights? Is it going to be wet in wet? Are you going to have a soft edge around the light source? Are you going to lift off the paint? Are you going to go with some body paint, some opaque white paint? Think about your strategy there. And also, as in any composition, as in any daytime composition, think about the placement of the objects around the scene, trying to simplify things. And with the street scene, try not to have too many things on the edges of your composition, trying to get it in that middle area. So thanks very much again, and I will catch up with you on the next tutorial video happening soon. Cheers, bye-bye.